Welcome. This is video number 270 and this is part 2 of the government intervention in the economy, and this is also lecture number 9. This is in continuation of video number 269, in which I discussed government intervention in case of pure public goods and externalities, especially in case of natural resources when there are negative externalities. So then there is divergence between the private cost and private benefits, and social cost and social benefit. And in continuation to that, now I am going to discuss policy options. So the goal is to discourage production and consumption activities which impose external costs to the society. We can do this in a number of ways. Either we can change the market incentives, or we can bypass market incentives. We can also discuss the case of emission fees. Market incentives can be altered via emission charges or emission tax, and an emission charge is a fee which is imposed on polluters, and that is based on the quantity of the pollution produced by that particular party or individual producer or a firm, and so on. Any emission fees increases private margin cost and thus encourages a lower output. And here is the example. In this figure, this pink line, this is the private margin cost curve. So this is the supply curve of a firm which incurs only marginal private cost, and in that case, having the demand curve, the horizontal demand curve facing the firm in a perfectly competitive market, the optimal or the competitive market equilibrium will occur at point A, and the result will be the production of OQ0 units of output, and price will be this. This is the price cost dollars per unit. Since there are external costs to the society, so this market incentive can be altered by imposing emission charge. So that charge will be added to the marginal cost, and in that case, this will discourage the producer or the firm, and it will decline, or it will decrease its supply curve from private MC to this one, to this red one. And this vertical difference between the two is equal to tax or fee. So this will encourage lower production. So when production is decreased from Q0 to Q1, the output of the product will decrease, and similarly that will also lead to lower pollution. So this is one policy option. Another thing is regulation. Market incentives can also be bypassed through direct regulation, and government specifies the required outcome and the process by which it is to be achieved. The Clean Air Act of 1970 mandated fewer auto emissions and the processes to reduce those emissions. That was one type of regulation. Excessive process regulation may raise the cost of environmental protection and discourage cost-saving innovation. Now we discuss the market failure number 3, and that is market power. Market power is the ability to alter the market price of a good or service. Usually we have read that in a perfectly competitive market structure, the individual producer and the individual consumer are so small that they cannot alter the market price. They cannot exercise any effect or any influence on the market price. They are only price takers, not price makers. But in some cases, under pure monopoly, the producer could be price maker rather than price taker. So if they have more market power, then there is the ability to alter or to change or to make the market price of a good or service. The response to price signals rather than the signal themselves may be flawed. So market power results from restricted supply due to copyrights. Either the producer has the copyrights and nobody else could produce that. So then in that case, the supply will be less than the social demand. They may have patents, and they may also have control of resources or raw materials, and other may not have access to those resources. They may not have control over those resources. So only a few or only one firm may be able to produce that good and control those resources. And there may also be restrictive production agreements that also leads to restricted supply. For example, in case of OPEC, when they have these agreements that they will produce less than what is demanded in order to get more price and more profit. And then efficiencies of large scale production is also one reason that could lead to restricted supply. The direct consequences of market power is that one or more producers attain discretionary power over the market's response to price signals. We can also discuss the antitrust policy. The goal of government intervention is to prevent or dismantle concentrations of market power. Government intervention to alter market structure or private abuse of market power is known as antitrust policy. Then there was the Sherman Act of 1890, which prohibits conspiracies in restraint of trade, including mergers, contracts, or acquisition that threaten to monopolize the industry. So government may use different policy options to discourage over market powers. Violators are subject to fine up to $1 million. That was in case of this Sherman Act. This is a good policy option to discourage the overproduction of the good that is polluting the atmosphere or the environment. Then there is the Clayton Act of 1914 that outlaws specific antitrust behavior is not covered by the Sherman Act. Principal aim of this act was to prevent the development of monopolies. And then there was the Federal Trade Commission Act of 1914, and that created an agency to study industry structures and behavior so as to identify anti-competitive practices. Then antitrust decisions, and that constitute anti-legislation which has been used to break up the steel and tobacco monopolies in the early 1900s, to break up the AT&T monopoly in the 1980s, and recently against the Microsoft, developed by Bill Gates. This is the fourth case of market failure, and that is inequality or inequity. Inequality entails lack of equitable distribution in the market, and the government in that case can alter the distribution of income with taxes and transfer payments. They can tax the richer, and they can make transfer payments to the bottom poorer, those whose income is much lower than the richer. So they can make a redistribution of income and wealth. Income transfers are payments to individuals for which no current goods and services are exchanged. This is, in this figure, poor people's share of total income before government intervention. That is, according to this figure, 1.1% of the total income was shared by poor people, and the rest of the income, that is round about 98.9% was owned by the richer. And after the government intervention, The government imposes taxes on the richer, and that are then transfer payments are made to the poorer, so their share is increased from 1.1% to 4.5%. But this is not very much. There is some difference between the share of poor in the total income. It is increased after the imposition of taxes by the government, but this is not so much. This is just a meager transfer redistribution of income. Equity concerns the for whom question. Is the distribution of goods and services generated by the market fair? This is a big question. The government intervention may be needed to redistribute income if the market fails to reflect our notion of fairness. Income transfers. Example of income transfers include social security benefits, social welfare, and unemployment compensation and benefits. There may be some other types of income transfers as well for the poorer. Social security is the largest transfer payment program in developed world, especially in USA and Western Europe. Macro instability. Micro failures of the marketplace differ from macro failures. Micro failures are related to produce at the wrong point on the production possibility curve, are inequitably distributing the output produced. That is on a micro scale. The goal of macro intervention is to foster economic growth, to get us on the production possibility curve where there is full employment. These are the aims of the macroeconomic, these are the goals of the macroeconomy, or macroeconomic goals of the government. To achieve economic growth, to have full employment in the economy, to bring stability in the price level, and to have external balance, or to bring balance in the balance of payment, and also to increase our capacity to produce more and have growth. The potential micro and macro failures on the marketplace can be used to justify government intervention. However, the question is, can we trust the government to fix the shortcomings of the market? Government intervention typically entails a lot of groping in the dark for better, if not optimal, outcomes. Vested interests often try to steer the government away from the social optimum, and just like we have market failures, there are also government failures, and government intervention might worsen rather than improve market outcomes. So government failures are government intervention that fails to improve economic outcomes is known as the government failure. The challenges of public policies to decide whether when any government intervention is justified, then intervene in a way that improves outcomes in the least costly way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of this video lecture, and we discussed four types of market failure, that is public goods, externalities, market power, and inequity. Kindly subscribe to this channel by hitting this red button, and do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you can get a notification about other informative videos in various disciplines of economics on this channel. You can also share this video and this channel with your colleagues, with your friends, and with your students, so that they can also get benefit